You know their names, Freddy, Jason, Hannibal. But the real monsters, they didn't need masks. This is DeadRead, where we expose the true crimes behind horror movies and why reality was far darker. These aren't adaptations, they're confessions. Ed Gein didn't just kill, he desecrated. He exhumed corpses, peeling skin to craft lampshades, chairs, and even a suit he wore at night. Police found faces stretched into masks, lips strung on a window shade, and a box of preserved female genitalia. The movies only hinted his horror. The truth was a waking nightmare. In the farmhouse, investigators uncovered bowls made from skulls, a heart in a paper bag, and a corset stitched from a woman's torso. Gein's kitchen held organs in jars. The stench of death clung to every surface. He confessed to wearing the skin of his victims, trying to become his dead mother. This was not madness, it was method. The aftermath haunted the town. Forensic teams cataloged trophies, a belt of nipples, a collection of noses, and chairs upholstered in human skin. Gein's crimes inspired decades of nightmares, because the real monster didn't wear a mask. He lived next door, hiding horror in plain sight. The twisted mother-son bond in Psycho? It's no fiction. Ed Gein worshipped his mother, Augusta. Her portrait hung above his bed. After she died, he sealed her room untouched and spoke to her as if she were still alive. He even wore women's skin, trying to become her. Gein kept his mother's bedroom pristine, but the rest of the house rotted. He slept beside her things, surrounded by filth and horror. Neighbors said he talked to Augusta's empty chair, begging for forgiveness. The real house was a tomb, filled with relics, bones, and silence. When police entered, they found Augusta's room untouched, while the rest was a nightmare. Gein confessed he dug up women who resembled his mother, using their remains to build a shrine. Psycho's Norman Bates was a shadow. Gein's reality was far more disturbing. Before Chucky, there was Robert, the original haunted doll. Locked in a glass case in Key West, Robert's stare is said to follow you. Visitors claim the doll moves, giggles, and even changes expression. Some say he brings death to those who mock him. Over the years, hundreds have written letters to Robert, begging for forgiveness after accidents, illness, or even death followed their visit. Museum staff received daily apologies from those who ignored the warning. Never disrespect the doll. Cameras malfunction, car crashes happen, and some say the curse follows them home. Some visitors claim to see Robert blink or hear him whisper their names. Others report nightmares, sudden illness, or tragedy after taking his photo without permission. In Key West, the legend is clear. Robert the doll doesn't just haunt a museum. He haunts your life. The Perron family's nights were filled with screams, bruises, and the stench of rotten flesh. The Warrens claimed a demon tormented them. Beds levitated, doors slammed, and unseen hands left scratches on skin. But when doctors investigated it, they found carbon monoxide leaks, enough to drive anyone to madness, terror, and hallucinations. Carolyn Perron was dragged from her bed by invisible forces. Her daughters saw a woman with a broken neck lurking in the shadows. The family's dog died mysteriously. The Warrens performed a seance that ended in violence. Carolyn screamed in voices not her own, thrown across the room. The trauma left scars that never healed. Even after the Warrens left, the Perrons were haunted by nightmares, paranoia, and unexplained bruises. The house stood silent, but the terror lingered. Was it all supernatural evil, or the mind unraveling under relentless fear? The line between haunting and horror blurred forever. This video is sponsored by BetterHelp. Even serial killers needed therapy. Gary Heidnik's basement was a nightmare made real. He kept women chained to pipes, starved, beaten, and left in darkness. He forced them to endure unspeakable acts. One victim was even cooked and fed to the others. The horror of Hannibal Lecter pales next to the true depravity that unfolded in Philadelphia. The women were kept in a pit, barely clothed, deprived of food and water, tormented by the constant threat of violence. Heidnik played mind games, promising freedom only to snatch it away. The psychological scars ran deeper than the physical wounds. Some victims never recovered. When police finally raided the house, they found chains, torture devices, and the remains of Heidnik's cruelty. The survivors' testimonies revealed a level of evil that defies fiction. Silence of the Lambs was inspired by these horrors, but reality was far worse. The real exorcism that inspired The Exorcist wasn't just a story. It was a nightmare. In 1949, a boy known as Roland Doe screamed in voices not his own. Witnesses saw words appear, scratched into his skin. Furniture hurled itself across the room. Priests claimed the boy spoke Latin he'd never learned. Neighbors heard guttural howls through the walls. Some said the air turned icy cold, but doctors insisted it was all in his mind. The priests who performed the exorcism described objects flying, beds shaking, and the boy's eyes rolling back as he cursed in ancient tongues. One priest was slashed by a flying spring from the mattress. Another fainted from fear. The ritual lasted weeks. Sometimes the boy's voice would change, deep and mocking, taunting the men of faith. Family members were haunted by nightmares for years. The church kept the case secret, but the trauma never faded. The real horror wasn't just the supernatural. It was the scars left on everyone involved. The boy was never the same. Priests suffered breakdowns. Some witnesses refused to speak of it again. The Exorcist movie only hinted at the truth. The line between possession and madness is razor thin. And sometimes, the devil wears a human face. Sylvia Likens was just 16 when she was left in the care of Gertrude Banishevsky. What followed was weeks of starvation, beatings, and humiliation. Neighbors heard her screams. Children joined in the torture. This was not fiction. It was a nightmare made real. Sylvia was locked in a filthy basement, burned with cigarettes, forced to eat her own waste. The adults orchestrated the cruelty, but neighborhood kids became accomplices. No one stopped it. When police finally arrived, it was too late. The horror inside that house shocked even seasoned detectives. The trial revealed a community's silence. Gertrude and her accomplices were convicted, but the scars lingered. Sylvia's story became a warning. Monsters don't wear masks. They live next door. The house was demolished, but the memory of what happened inside still haunts true crime history. In the Australian outback, Ivan Milat stalked backpackers, luring them into the bush, binding, torturing, and killing them. Wolf Creek was fiction, but Milat's brutality was real. Victims were found with hands cut off, spines severed, bullets in their skulls. The wilderness became a graveyard. Survivors described the terror of being hunted, chased through endless trees, hearing gunshots echo in the dark. Police found shallow graves, personal belongings scattered, and chilling evidence of torture. The outback's silence now hides the screams of those who never made it home. David Parker Ray didn't just build a torture trailer. He called it his toy box. Inside, police found whips, chains, surgical tools, and a gynecological chair bolted to the floor. Victims were drugged, blindfolded, and recorded as Ray described in chilling detail what he would do to them. Some survived. Many vanished, their bodies never found. Investigators discovered hundreds of audio tapes, Ray's own recordings of the torture. The walls were covered in diagrams of restraint devices. Evidence bags overflowed with handcuffs, syringes, and personal items from missing women. Survivors described waking up strapped down, hearing only the hum of machinery and Ray's voice promising pain. The psychological scars lasted a lifetime. For others, the desert kept its secrets. Another Warren case. The family heard footsteps at night, voices whispering from empty rooms, and saw crucifixes torn from the walls. Neighbors reported nothing. No screams, no lights. Was it the supernatural, or something darker in their minds? A priest confessed, "I saw nothing, but I felt a presence." The family fled, but nightmares followed them. These films didn't need scripts. They had case numbers. Comment which true crime shocked you most, if you dare.